예, 오늘은 머크의 요하네스 카니시우스 OLED 사업을 총괄하는 분이십니다. 수석 부사장님이시고요. 한국에 이번 다음 주에 그 IMID 행사가 열리는데 키노트 스피치 하러 오셨는데 저희가 그 전에 먼저 뵙고 회사의 사업이나 디스플레이 업황에 대한 얘기를 좀 해보도록 하겠습니다. 부사장님 안녕하십니까?
안녕하세요.
지금 간략하게 머크 안에서 어떤 일을 하시는지 좀 소개를 부탁드립니다.
Yeah, so my name is Johannes Canisius. I'm with Merck, and my responsibility is to lead the OLED business field within our business unit Optronics.
그 기존의 그 비즈니스 디스플레이 그 비즈니스명을 옵트로닉스로 변경하고 뭐 확장했다고 하는데 그 의미에 대해서 좀 간략하게 소개를 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
Yeah, so we renamed recently to Optronics. The former name was Display Solutions, mainly driven by the acquisition of a company called Unity SC. So Unity SC opens for us the door to a new area, to a new business area, which is called metrology and inspection, mainly for semiconductor devices. And you might ask, what has this to do with our original display solution topics? And there are a lot of synergies between Optronics, the new name of the old display solution business, and this metrology and inspection. And this is how we materialize light. So in the display industry and with our core know-how in displays, we are very much familiar and we are very close to technologies handling light. In liquid crystal, so we consider ourselves as an expert of dealing with light. Yeah? So we are a material developer, and we are experts in materials which in a certain way interacts and manage light. In liquid crystals, with specialized molecules, we modify light. In the OLED area, we generate even light. And we have many other applications and development projects where we deal with light. For example, AR/VR, which is a very promising future technology to enable AI-driven advanced devices. Also here, we have to somehow handle light in a way that we have to create waveguides who transport light from a micro display to the optical element in front of your eyes. So dealing with light is a great expertise of ours. And with Unity SC, we bridge somehow the technology area from optronics, from light, to the semiconductor world. So optronics do analysis of chips, for example, on defects. And by understanding the defects of semiconductor devices, we help our customers to understand problems and also utilize our material know-how to develop dedicated materials based on these problems which we identify via our metrology tools. So we at Merck believe that the synergy and the merger of optical technologies and semiconductor technology has a lot of relevance for future products and future applications. For example, if you think about high performance computing, HPC, or high bandwidth memory, or even AR/VR devices, where you cannot realize these exciting applications just with optical or just with semiconducting technologies. So the merger of both, for example, thinking about AR/VR, which could be the killer application for AI-driven technologies, the merging of semiconductor and optical technology, in our opinion, will be the key for realization. If you think about waveguides, for example, how to transport the light, micro displays where OLED materials play an important role. So there are many things which merge together with both technology, semi and optical technologies.
그렇군요. 그 고객사들도 왜 그 이런 이름 왜 이렇게 바꿨느냐라고 질문이 좀 많았을 것 같은데 그렇게 설명하시면 고개를 좀 끄덕이십니까? 아니면은 잘 모르겠어 라든지 뭐 직원들도 이제 왜 이름을 이렇게 바꿨을까? 약간은 융합된다라는 느낌은 있는데 궁금증이 혹시 있지도 않았을까라는 생각도 말씀 듣다 보니까 좀 드네요.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the name change and the strategy change from pure display solutions to Optronics is highly appreciated by our customers and also highly appreciated by our employees. The reason is that Merck over the last years did a lot of acquisitions to diversify from the relatively limited display solution businesses. So in the past we tried to enlarge the scope of opportunity within displays, and we did that very successfully from a purely liquid crystal material players where we were very successful. We could emerge into different businesses, for example OLED. By the way, we are the only liquid crystal leading company who are also successful in OLED, because we are very good in broadening our portfolio either by acquisitions or by inorganic growth, right? And our employees really appreciate if we as their employee open up the space for more opportunities to grow, also for them technology-wise, but also career-wise. And due to the fact that we acquired a lot of portfolio in the past to build a new semiconductor business, which is quite an achievement. Yeah, if to look back 10 years ago, we were restricted by our liquid crystal material portfolio, and nowadays we have a huge portfolio in other optical technology, for example OLED, photoresist as well, encapsulation materials, but also a vast portfolio of semiconductor businesses. And for our employees, now merging these optical know-how and optical technology together with our experienced semiconductor business and opening up with this merger new opportunities in very, very important future technologies like AR/VR gives them a lot of opportunities. On the other hand, also our customers appreciate that we are building up platforms that help them better to address challenges in these upcoming technologies like AR/VR or other optical semiconductor technologies like high-performing computing, for example.
옵트로닉스라는 이름은 뭐 AR, VR 뭐 중요하다라고 말씀하셨는데 말하자면 마이크로 디스플레이라든지 이런 솔루션에 조금 더 힘이 많이 실리는 거 아닌가라는 느낌을 좀 받게 되거든요. 그쪽에 실제로 그 비중이 굉장히 큽니까? 어떻습니까 지금?
Of course, micro displays play an important role in AR/VR, but this is not the reason why we see each other on the Optronics side. So in Optronics, we still have the core business, which creates the turnover today, which is mainly liquid crystal materials, the traditional liquid crystal material business, our photoresist business, and OLED business. Yeah, these are the main contributor of our core business today. So with Optronics and the new metrology business of Unity SC, we look more into broadening our portfolio for future business opportunities, right? With understanding the issues in silicon chips by metrology, we will be able to help our customers to tackle these issues. For example, like heterogeneous integration, which is at the very beginning, and they are in stacking the devices in a crazy way. So there will be lots of issues still to be solved in the future. And our unique know-how of combining optical technologies and semiconductor technologies, we are in the forefront of helping our customers to solve these upcoming issues.
지금 수석 부사장님이 맡고 있는 뭐랄까요? 회사 그 직책에서의 책임, 말하자면 매출의 책임 이런 것은 어디까지 범위입니까? 지금 말씀하신 대로 이 반도체 쪽 다 포괄하시는 겁니까? 아니면 디스플레이 OLED 소재 재료에 국한된 좀 이쪽에 영역에 좀 있는 겁니까?
No, so we have currently business units which are separated. So the one unit I'm working for is optronics, and in optronics, as I mentioned earlier, we have several different businesses we are dealing with, and OLED is one of them. And then we have another business unit, semiconductor, which is much bigger. So currently, electronics which is our division. So electronics has around 70% of the sales related to the semiconductor business fields and business areas, and 30% of electronics is related to optronics, right? Where metrology and inspection is the new kid on the block, and then of course our established businesses like photoresist, OLED, and LC. And my responsibility is the business responsibility, including R&D, including sales for OLED only.
OLED에 대해 좀 집중적으로 좀 여쭤보겠습니다. 어쨌든 그쪽을 하고 계시니까 지금 전체적인 이 OLED 시장 경쟁 구도에 대해서 어떻게 보십니까? 이 사실 소형 OLED 시장 한국이 특히 이제 삼성이 다 주도를 하고 있었던 시장이고 LG 디스플레이가 이제 쫓아오고 있고요. 또 중국에 있는 BOE라든지 이런 기업들이 막 치고 올라오는 상황인데 지금 조금씩 야금야금 이 중국 기업들이 계속 점유율이 치고 올라오고 있단 말입니다. 뭐 물론 이제 저지하기 위해서 특허 이슈를 막 제기하기도 하고 막 그렇게 하긴 하는데 박사님께서 부사장님께서 보시기에는 이 지금 한국 디스플레이 업체의 OLED 시장에서 갖고 있는 그 주도권 계속 될 거라고 보십니까? 아니면 계속 뭐 좀 중국 기업들이 점유율을 많이 치고 올라와서 거의 비슷한 수준까지 이르거나 혹은 뛰어넘거나 뭐 어떻게 좀 예측을 하고 계십니까?
Yeah, that's a very important and very good question, right? So OLED is, in comparison to liquid crystals, a relatively new technology. And there are a lot of things still to be developed. If you look, for example, to the next generation of Apple iPhones, which they have announced will be flexible for the first time, a flexible mobile phone from Apple. So let alone this change requires a lot of technical improvements and innovations. Also, artificial intelligence, AI, which is a huge mega trend and will be responsible for everything in the electronic industry which create growth, in my opinion. If you look, for example, to AI-enabled mobile phones, the chips will be much more power consuming. But the battery should still be long lasting, so that means all other components then needs to be developed in a way that they are less power consuming. So we as a material supplier for OLED will have a huge contribution on that, and especially the partnerships which we have with Korean customers are addressing these future trends quite significantly. So answering your question, how long Korean players will have a competitive advantage, I think they will still survive a long time because they are focusing, as I mentioned, on this premium application. They will always address the upcoming issues which comes along with innovations and mega trends. And in my opinion, Korean players who are very dominant from the very beginning in OLED will be best positioned to tackle these innovation-driven new technologies, which will, in my opinion, will take still some time. So Chinese competitors, of course, are there. You can observe that. They also bring great products on the market, but in my opinion, they are very strong in mature technologies, right? Especially liquid crystal, which has matured. They are very strong, right? But OLED, again, is driven, especially in the premium segment, by innovation. And here, I think, for the years to come, our Korean customers are well positioned.
이 제가 좀 넓게 물어보긴 했는데 그 간략하게 지금 그 OLED 이 재료층별로 머크가 공급하고 있는 솔루션 간략하게 짧게 좀 소개를 좀 해주실 수 있습니까?
Different than in liquid crystal, where just one layer builds the optical element by combining several, we call it single molecules to one mixture, which is fully controlled by the material supplier. OLED works a little bit different, right? So in OLED we have this stack where roughly 10 to 15 different materials will be evaporated. And the competitive landscape and the specialization of certain material providers for specific stacks is quite pronounced, different to liquid crystals. So Merck is the market leader in so-called whole transport layers. Yeah. And we have a very high market share and a lot of knowledge to address all the future challenges which are coming along with this layer. This layer is very important and crucial for example, improving the lifetime efficiency and power consumption of the final OLED panel. So that's why here collaborating with our customers on this HTM material is very pronounced. But of course, due to the fact that we have already quite high market share, we are also exploring other layers where we are focusing on, where we want to develop in, where we are building up expertise. But to go into more specifics here would we need too much time.
경쟁사들이 뭐 미국에, 일본에 또 한국에 있는데 머크가 생각하는 우리 회사의 경쟁력, 그들보다 좀 뛰어나다, 혹은 고객사들이 좀 인정해주는 머크의 경쟁력은 무엇이라고 좀 생각을 하십니까?
Yeah, Merck has a very long history in supporting our display customers. More than 30 years, for example, we are active in Korea. We have built up strong relationships in all display technology and supported our customers significantly to this journey of becoming the world leading companies in display products, right? So this, let alone this history and track record of successful collaboration and partnership, of course, gives us already a competitive advantage. But nevertheless, our credo is always being the technology leader. We are an innovation-driven company, a science and technology company, and science and challenges in terms of material developments is our daily bread, right? So we really like that. We like complexity. We like solving complex technical issues. Also, our patent landscape, which is somehow the reflection of innovation and the reflection of technical advancements, gives us a very unique position, so that our customers are always safe if they deal with us, if they collaborate with us and put our materials in their devices. We call it freedom to operate. The more advanced your patent coverage, your patent landscape is, the better for us and of course also for our customers. Then our manufacturing network is very intensive, so we have a very reliable and resilient integrated supply chain. Due to our size and due to our experience in advanced materials, we are able to secure material supply even in difficult situation, as we remember from the COVID time. Yeah? So we were the only company who has had no disruption in supply chain during this difficult situation, mainly due to our experience and our network, which we have also with our partners in the supply chain. And then, of course, we are a family-owned company. We are not, our strategy is not based on quarter by quarter. Our strategy is based on 10 years, right? So we always have an intensive pipeline, what comes next. So this is always in our interest.
한국 고객사들은 좀 자주 좀 보십니까? 아니면 뭐 어쩌다가 한 번씩 보십니까? 어떻습니까?
So Korea is my favorite country, I have to say, not only because I like kimchi so much, especially kimchi pancakes. So I used to be R&D head for quite a long time, and then dealing with and discussing this and aligning the development strategy and the priorities for an R&D strategy with Korean customer is extremely fruitful. Right? As a big company like us, where we are dealing with high-tech stuff and long-term developments, of course, R&D costs are very important. So prioritization of our efforts is the key for success, right? And aligning our strategy with Korean customers is extremely fruitful, because we know then in this close collaboration what really matters and which is probably not so important. And this kind of close alignment and close collaboration was always for us one big milestone for success. And as an R&D head, or now as a business head, where Korea customers are, especially if you look to the premium application, which drives R&D and technology advancements, I need to be here several times a year. So if you look back to my career, which is more than 20 years, and always somehow involved with the display industry, and you calculate 2 to 3 times meeting with customers a year, yeah, so I am here in at least for my 40th time. So coming to Korea is really essential for me.
근래에 왔을 때 한국 고객사들 큰 고객사 2개가 있지 않습니까? 가장 뭐랄까요, 좀 중요하게 요청하는 것이라든지 좀 고민거리라든지 좀 워크에서 좀 해결해 줬으면 좋겠다라든지 한 가지라도 좀 얘기를 좀 해주실 수 있습니까?
Yeah, so we have a lot of discussions with our customers on their challenges, and of course this is very confidential, but I am not telling any secrets if I say that, for example, lifetime in OLED devices is a big issue. And luckily, we are now moving into a new application for OLED, the IT part. You all know that Apple changed their technology for iPads and laptops and so on from LC to OLED. And this requires, as I said earlier, moving into new application always requires lots and lots of innovation, because we are talking about complex technologies. So in the IT area, the burn-in issue of OLED is more pronounced than in mobile or TV, because you have very static, from the color change point of view, very static elements. If you work, for example, with Microsoft Office products, you have certain areas on the desktop which usually stay the same. And if that happens and the lifetime of the OLEDs are not good enough, you get this so-called burn-in phenomena. You solve this by increasing the lifetime of the OLED materials, and we as an important stakeholder in these material developments help our customers a lot to improve the lifetime. And to go into details here, usually if you do that, so you have lifetime and efficiency, which are 2 key improvement areas of OLED. And usually if you do molecular design and chemistry development, and you improve one of these 2 specifications, the one goes up and the other one goes down, right? And there's one technology called deuteration. So you exchange the hydrogen of this organic OLED molecule with deuterium, which is an isotope. You get the unique situation that you improve lifetime significantly without influence other parameters like efficiency. So this is a real breakthrough innovation which we bring to our customer, also producing and upscaling this deuterated material. Raw material supply is a big issue where Merck as a global big company has less issues with. So here we provide now various deuterated material to our customers, which helps them a lot to face the challenges of these IT-related applications. just one example of many.
그 중수소 기술에 대해서 지금 뭐 상황 그 어떻게 지금 개발이 어느 정도 왔는지 아니면 양산이 되어서 고객사에 공급이 되었는지 뭐 현재 상황이 어떤지 좀 궁금합니다. 조금만 더 얘기해 주시면 좋겠습니다.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So deuteration in OLED is relatively new. However, the need of the industry and the need of our customers to bring this into mass production is very high because it's as I explained earlier, it's a very good method to increase lifetime. So we put a lot of efforts in securing the supply chain for these kind of technology, create the relevant molecules, and very, very important to establish a process, a mass production process that keeps the degree of deuteration constant, batch to batch consistency and so on. Yeah. So this was huge efforts from our colleagues in process development and manufacturing, and we are very proud and happy that the processes are now so nicely developed, still young, but nicely developed, that it's no problem to offer this material on a mass production scale to our customers in a reliable manner.
그 기술 자체는 지금 머크가 가장 빠르게 지금 하고 있는 겁니까? 아니면 유일하게 하고 있는 겁니까? 아니면 경쟁하는 회사도 있습니까?
So I mentioned earlier that we are specified on certain layers in the overall OLED stack. So for our layers, deuteration is very important, but for other layers as well. And for layers where we are not active, our competitors are using similar methods in deuteration to enhance the lifetime as well. So it's not a unique thing for us, the deuteration per se, but of course how we deuterate, which raw materials we use very environmentally friendly raw materials. Not all of them, perhaps the obvious ones, are not very environmentally friendly in terms of sustainability. But how we do it, so deuteration per se is not a Merck thing, right? But how we do it, how high our deuteration degree is, and which kind of sustainable raw materials we use, how reliable our sources are for these raw materials, so that we can provide in higher quantities and even in certain geopolitical crises, these materials, I would say we are uniquely positioned, I have to say. So one sentence more. So many of our competitors have no own production anymore. They don't. Some have, many of them don't, and they use OEMs to produce their OLEDs, right? Many of these OEMs are not based in Korea or based where the supplier themselves are located, so they are dependent on a certain supply chain with some geopolitical issues, could be some geopolitical issues, or in crisis situation, which I mentioned earlier, this kind of supply chain could be vulnerable, right? So in our case, due to the fact that we still have the production fully under control, of course we use OEMs, but mainly for intermediate molecules. Yeah. We, in these cases, for example, in deuteration, where we have to develop our own processes very quickly to satisfy our customers, we can rely on a sustainable and reliable integrated supply chain organization, which is a unique benefit and competitive advantage to our customers.
대략 수명이 어느 정도나 길어집니까?
Yeah, so that depends from molecule to molecule and from the deuteration degree and also the requests from our customers. Yeah. Sometimes so usually the higher the deuteration degree is, deuteration degree means how many protons in the molecules are replaced by deuterium. If the degree is very high, sometimes we can improve the lifetime of the molecules significantly. By significantly, I can say 100%. So you double the lifetime of the molecule by this step. So this is a really powerful and very efficient tool. But of course, depending on the costs and the specification of the customers, not always a 100% alteration degree is wanted. Sometimes 50% is enough. But again, here, if we agree with our customers on a specification of 50 degrees, it's super important that we reliably reproduce this 50%, and not one batch is 50, 140, 160, right? And as I mentioned earlier, we have developed sophisticated processes which we have under our full control, which generate these kind of reliable performance batch by batch.
지금 한국에 투자한 내역, 기존에 뭐 디스플레이 쪽에 투자한 내역과 앞으로 혹시 또 추가로 투자를 좀 할 계획 같은 게 있으시다면 소개를 좀 부탁드리겠습니다.
So, as I said, Korea is for our optronics business, but also for our semiconductor business, one key country. And since the 1980s, we are investing heavily in Korea, in different sites, so that currently we have 12 sites in our Merck space in Korea, which is significant, and 1,800 employees. Right? So Korea is a significant investment for us, and we don't stop as we speak. So in OLED and in display technology, we have started in the 1980s. And overall, in the Merck world, we having investments in Korea of 600 million euros, right, which is significant. So 300 million we invested so far, including our so-called Level Up program in the semiconductor business, and 300 million more this year, next year. So this hopefully reflects the seriousness and the importance of Korea in our core business. So speaking about OLED, we have invested over the last 10 years also in OLED significantly, in application technology, and also in material sublimation technologies. As you all know, the OLED materials needs to be highly purified, also lifetime related. And sublimation is one key technology which has been established for materials in the OLED field, and we do this sublimation locally to react faster to customer requests and so on. Furthermore, OLED, the application areas of OLED are growing as we speak. So from mobile phone, which was the start for OLED application, we moved to TV, and now, as we discussed already, in IT and also automotive. So these kind of increase and growth of application areas requires for us more application capabilities. So we usually do together with our customers at our premises so-called joint evaluation, where we build up the relevant stacks and we test our materials then in so-called reference stack architecture. So we do that on our premises, and the more application and the more projects we are doing with our customers, the more capabilities we use. And especially in terms of this growing market in IT and automotive, we are already at our limits in terms of these capabilities, and we have now building work going on to increase these kind of application centers and the related equipment to do these joint evaluations together with our customers.
그 OLED 분야를 비즈니스를 맡는 GM 제너럴 매니저로서 회사에서 올해 받은 목표 이런 것들 얘기해 줄 수 있습니까?
Oh, yeah. So of course I cannot share all the details of my objectives, but of course growth is very important. Yeah. So OLED in the company's strategy is in the most important expectation from the company towards me is to grow, right? As you know, it is usually expected that you grow faster than the market, which is not so easy. So OLED business is growing. From the TAM point of view, from the total available market, we discussed IT. Of course, IT is a brand new application field, so IT is growing double digit. But also TV and mobile is in the early single digit field growing. So not massively growing, but it is growing. And this is good. That's why OLED is attractive. But of course, the competition is fierce, and there's also certain applications like TV, which are must be very cost competitive. So I have to manage that we grow faster than the market and still can address certain very price competitive segments with attractive pricing. Right? So that is somehow my goals and my challenge. And then, of course, we have the so-called must-win battles. These are key qualification at customers, which are, of course, a little bit more future-oriented. But what we do not qualify today will not be sales tomorrow. That's why I'm also looking into R&D, how we are doing in the more midterm, long-term related projects with our customers.
반드시 우리가 따야 된다라는 그것은 무엇을 얘기하는 겁니까?
Yeah, so the must-win battles are the projects where we qualify our materials in customer products which come to the market with quite significant volumes. We have also strategic must-wins where volumes are not so important, and here it's all about qualification, for example, in new technologies, for very new products where volumes are usually small, but the longer term perspective is strategically so important that the growth and the final TAM of these products are quite attractive.
제가 잘 몰라서 그러는데 어떤 패널에 어떤 층에 머크가 재료를 넣고 있다가 다음 버전이 나왔을 때 혹시 빠지거나 그런 경우들이 과거에도 있었나요? 혹은 그 반대의 경우 우리가 안 들어가던 상황이었는데 또 새로 집어넣게 된다든지 이런 일들이 비일비재하게 계속 일어나는 일들인 건가요?
Yeah, this is a good question. So I call this portfolio, right? So every year my marketing and sales people, together with me, we are developing a portfolio which is attractive for us, in terms of margin, in terms of volumes, in terms of strategy, what I talked about earlier. And then we are trying to realize this portfolio. And sometimes it is part of the strategy that we abandon existing businesses because margins are declining or volumes are declining, or for other reasons we deprioritize these things. So changing the portfolio is happening very often as part of our business. So in our core areas, in these whole transport materials, as I mentioned, we are market and technology leader. So usually if the devices are performance driven and the specifications are performance driven, we win these projects, right? So sometimes other factors are important, that the stacks become more mature, volumes going up and down, so that the mutual interest will be different between customers and suppliers. But usually if we target a certain layer and we put a lot of our R&D efforts into this, we usually rely on winning these projects. And of course, you have always in business certain projects which you also lose from time to time. This is totally normal. But usually we win more than we lose.
IMID에서 기조연설을 하신다고 들었는데 어떤 내용 주로 얘기하실지 간략하게 마지막으로 좀 얘기를 좀 해주시면 고맙겠습니다.
Yeah, so I'm very proud to be invited and have the opportunity to do a keynote on the IMID this year, and we choose the title "Innovate and Terminate: Balancing Vision with Reality." So this is a little bit of an experiment, and will be a little bit different keynote speech because we want to demonstrate, and I think Merck has a good track record because we are more than 30 years in this display industry. We saw a lot of things happening, right? And we talked about portfolio, how important it is to choose your projects and your activities and your investments right. And this keynote speech will be a kind of review about technologies in the display field where Merck was active, which went very successfully and which did not went very successfully. So I will give examples where we failed and how important it is as a market leader to fail or to terminate things which are not moving in the direction as expected. I always compare that with a child who is learning to walk, right? Without falling down, it will never be able to walk, right? So falling and failing is part of the process. And usually nobody's talking about it, but it's part of the process. And I want to explore a little bit how important it is to learn from this experience, which we had the luck to do, being so long in the industry, and how we nowadays prioritize our portfolio to do as less failings as possible. And I give also a little bit of a perspective which projects we now focus on. AR/VR we talked about a lot, where we think this is a very well invested area.
예, 오늘 장시간 인터뷰 응해주신 카니시우스 부사장님 고맙습니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네.